Are you retiring without a nest egg? What now? A recent report by the National Institute of Retirement Security showed that over 40% of Americans are living on Social Security alone. Are you one of them? If so, stick around because I'm going to show you how you can have financial security on only Social Security. Many of us have found ourselves in somewhat of a conundrum. Our savings is insufficient or non-existent, and our retirement income, Social Security alone, just isn't enough to maintain our existence in the countries we're from. I know in the U.S. especially, the cost of living is just escalated exponentially. Hi everybody, welcome back again to Expat Globetrotter. I am your host, Dave Wally, and welcome to another episode. So, traveling can be daunting, especially as much as I'm doing. It can be a daunting situation. And if you're in the situation that many of us are in today, and affordability, living in your home country, and you decide to heck with it, I'm leaving, I'm going to go somewhere else and live, or I'm going to just travel for a few years, or until, like me, I plan on doing it until I wind up in a pine box and they're shipping me home to the States, or I don't know, burying me at sea, feeding me to the sharks. I don't really care. But anyway, we're going to talk about that in this video as far as affordability and what you could be facing in your journeys moving to another country. So we've had to think out of the box. Many of us have considered or already have moved out of the country, somewhere where our Social Security income would allow us to survive. And in many cases, we have found that we can actually flourish and enjoy our golden years on the cost of living in these countries. Recently, I took a poll on my YouTube channel, and I asked viewers if they were to decide to move abroad, what country they would more likely choose. I gave them 5 choices, and one was Mexico, Belize, Costa Rica, Panama, or Thailand. I thought clearly the winner would be Mexico or someplace in Central America. Why? Well, for one, these are retirement hotspots to a lot of people who live in the United States. And I thought most people would probably rather be someplace closer to home, just for, trips back and forth to visit family and etc., or be closer to American hospitals should they need medical care that they feel they can't get in the place they've chosen to retire. But wow, was I surprised. The number one choice, 75% of the participants chose Thailand. So yeah, I was pretty surprised about that. Personally speaking, Thailand wouldn't be my choice, but different strokes for different folks. But no matter where you choose to retire, if you're moving abroad, there's going to be obstacles in your way. There's going to be rules that come into play that were totally unexpected. The retirement visas are a whole new puzzle for many countries to even figure out how they work and what's required. Mexico, for one, is probably one of the most difficult places to qualify, especially if the reason you're leaving your home country is because of the lack of sufficient savings or income. Mexico is probably one of the highest, has one of the highest requirements for either savings or monthly income to qualify for residency there. That's a whole new video, but if you're considering that, Mexico, thinking, well, it's cheap to live there, you're correct. It is pretty cheap to live there. Actually, very cheap. But to qualify for residency, it's a whole new program. I've come to the conclusion they really don't want us there, or the only people they do want there are rich people because you really have to be rich in order to get residency there. However, you can qualify for 180 days on a tourist visa and at least be there 180 days. And then there's other places you could go for the other remaining 6 months. Or if your income suffices, you can just come back home to the States for the other 6 months or your other country. But I think in the most part, most of us are, if we're going to move abroad and we want to be able to stay away and just maybe rarely come home for visits. Back to Thailand. Like I said, 75% of the participants that took my poll said Thailand is where they wanted to retire. I guess I would have three questions, first of all, that come to my mind real quickly. Have you ever been to Thailand? Or have you just been looking at it online? I mean, that's a big question. And if so, have you researched the retirement requirements? That's a puzzle right there. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me who have gone through it, but when you're researching it, I think you do have to admit you get very conflicting information. And the third question would be, if you've been to Thailand, you've checked it out, and that's where you've decided, have you gone to any other countries? I mean, if you like Southeast Asia, have you been to Vietnam? Have you been to the Philippines? Have you been to Malaysia? Have you been to Cambodia or Laos, to check out those? What makes you think Thailand is the place for you? So yeah, I've researched the retirement requirements for many countries, and the countries that I have deemed inexpensive to live, if you will. And the requirements listed can be like, what the? To just absolutely crazy and mind-boggling. I mean, some of them are pretty clear and concise, but I know, Thailand really kind of angered me because I kept getting conflicting information. For example, if you're in the States and you've researched to get a retirement visa for Thailand while in the States, the financial requirements are totally different than what they are if you're in Thailand and you're going through the process while you're here. I happen to be in Koh Samui right now. But then the requirements listed for even being here, the ones that are currently listed are not correct, because they list one of the ways to qualify is, two ways primarily, is either income or depositing a certain amount of money into a Thai bank. It lists income. You need to prove that for the last 12 months you've been receiving at least 65,000 baht, which in today's calculations is $1,893 US. Or the savings way is 800,000 baht, which that is 23,300, and that's a savings. You would have to open a savings here in Thailand. That money would have to be seeded in that savings for 2 months before you enter into the retirement visa process. But that income method is no longer accepted because it's something to do with the authenticity verification thing of the documents. They no longer do that. So therefore, you cannot use documents to prove that you are receiving that income. So now, therefore, you just cannot use your income as a method to qualify. Potentially the second year end, but that's even ambiguous. I mean, I get conflicting answers to that all the time. But yes, in the United States, the numbers, savings are well over 30,000. And the income, I think, is like over $3,000, if I remember correctly, but it's significantly higher. So if you're thinking of doing it in the States and you want to retire in Thailand and you're going to go through the embassy there, the Thai embassy there, and you don't qualify based on their numbers, come to Thailand and do it here based on these current numbers. Whether it changes, I don't know. I do myself feel that those numbers are going to be going up for Thailand. I just see the writing on the wall. I found either way these numbers to be quite high based on for the most part, the cost of living. I mean, Thailand is much like the U.S. I mean, there are places here that it's pretty expensive. Here in Koh Samui, I'm rather shocked at the cost. It's expensive. I mean, grocery store, uh, taxis, Grab, which is the Uber, uh, they're all very expensive. Anyway, there was a fellow YouTuber I was watching a video he did here in Thailand interviewing, just happened to be mostly young women that he was out in the street in Bangkok interviewing. And his question was, how much money a month does it take to be wealthy? Well, most of these women were saying 40,000 baht ish was like the main dominant answer. Some of them were as high as 50 and 60. And of course, there was a few that were 70 and 100, but those are some pretty astronomical numbers. And like I say, most were in that 40,000 baht range, which 40,000 baht is about $1,175 at today's conversion rate, which incidentally, the US dollar has, there's been pretty big numbers in the value of that. The US dollar just isn't worth what it used to be here. I mean, the higher these numbers get, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that the 800,000 baht you need in a savings was, a smidge over 20,000. Now it's, 23,300. So, it doesn't make a huge difference when you're, buying something at $7 or $8, like a taxi cab, it's different, 20 cents or something maybe. But those higher numbers, purchases of homes, if that's what you intend, or vehicles, or, the big ticket items, it's getting to where it makes a big difference. Anyway, in some of the cases, the young ladies were saying 50 to 60,000 baht, but then they were asked, what they feel is how much money they have to make in order to sustain life in Bangkok, where this was taking place. And most of them were saying like 10,000 baht, which is just under $300. So you can see, I mean, the people who are born and raised here, the Thai, they know a much cheaper way of life, and I think they get better prices. I know here in Koh Samui, there's a big difference between what a Thai person pays to take the tuk-tuk truck and what an American or an English person pays to take the tuk-tuk truck. I mean, it's huge. So I guess my point here is it's obvious, that if the Thai government wants us to have, well, we can't use the income, but when they did at 65,000 baht, which is, about $1,900 a month, it's considerably more than what a local can live on. And it's more than, in most cases, what we need to live on. Here in Koh Samui, it could be pushing it. But I think if I were you, considering on moving to Thailand, I haven't been there yet. I'd like to go, but kind of messed up my travel plans. But Hua Hin, which is on the east coast of the peninsula, north of here, well, south of Bangkok into the peninsula, I think maybe 3.5, 4 hours ish. I mean, I could be totally wrong there. This is a wild guess. And it's about 3 hours north of me here in Koh Samui. But it's a beachside town, and it looks pretty nice. And from what I've learned, it's the cost of living there is considerably less than what it is in Koh Samui. So I think for the most part, there's a lot of people that can't even come close to qualifying income-wise or savings-wise, if you could use the income to qualify for the retirement visa here in Thailand. But there is pretty good news. If we look at this map here of my Google Interactive visa-free places, just for a second, things just got a lot easier here. So for one, just recently, actually July 15th of this year, Thailand has changed their visa-free entry for U.S. citizens. And in many countries, you can come in for 60 days, visa-free, visa-exempt, however you want to term it. And then that is extendable for an additional 30. So whereas before you were applying for a 60-day visa, which was extendable for 30, you don't have to go through that visa thing. And I'm telling you, that's such a huge thing. I mean, I have come to the point where I just loathe getting visas. So once you extend it, that gives you 90 days. Now, if you look at the map here, that red dot there on Malaysia, that means that that is a 90-day visa-free country. So you have potentially 90 days, at least 60 in Thailand. If you're living in the southern peninsula here, maybe Phuket even, it's a bus ride down to Malaysia. Stay there for 90 days on your visa free. And then after that ends, come on back to Thailand and do it over and over. Now, I suggest this primarily, I mean, a lot of people will come for their 60-day visa, extend to 90, do a hop down to Malaysia for a week, and then turn right around and come back to Thailand, which they've been getting away with it when it was a visa. I've heard rumor that they're going to tighten up on that on the visa-free entry, but nobody really knows. I mean, they could be as free as they were with a visa on the free entry and let you come back in for another 60 days, extend it for 30, hop out a week and come back. I just think that your odds of you being more successful of hopping down to Malaysia for 30 or for 90 days and staying there and coming back, I don't know as they've ever questioned that. You know, you're not really abusing the system with a quick visa hop. So don't just go by this map or any other information that you find out there as far as, oh, I can go to Malaysia for 90 days and just hop on a plane and go. Do your research, especially on the U.S. Department of State website or the Immigration Department's website for the country you're going to, because there's oftentimes additional information that you're going to have to bring with you. A lot of them want to see that you got enough income to support yourself while you're in the country. A lot of times that number, the dollar amount's ambiguous, or if it is stated, it's much more nominal than, for example, the 65,000 baht that Thailand requires for a retirement visa. You know, they just want to see you got enough money to survive while you're there. Some will mandate that you have trip insurance, and some will mandate that you have trip insurance at a certain dollar amount of coverage. So you have to be aware of those issues so that when you go to the country that they're going to let you in. And they also, and I'm going to plug in a little insert here about Onward Ticket. If you've decided to cut out and do slow travel, long-term slow travel, I highly recommend that you take a look at Onward Tickets. I have a link below. So many countries that you're going to visit require that you show booking to leave. And often you don't know when you're going to leave because here, like for example, here in Thailand, a 60-day visa-free entry that can be extended for 30. So having a plane ticket that you may not be able to change or have to spend extra money for a plane ticket that you can change if you decide to utilize that 30-day extension, so it changes your fly date all over again. It's a ridiculous law or rule or whatever so many countries have, but for $16 you can get a ticket that will automatically expire in 48 hours, and it'll appease the man at the immigration office, or woman, I'm sorry. So yeah, look, check that out. I use it all the time. It's a wonderful tool. So yes, just to reiterate, always do your homework before you're going to a new country and buy your tickets. And always, if there's a visa required, get the visa before you book your flight. So, and if you're looking for a longer term stay in Thailand without having to leave, well, there's not really an answer for that I have. That's an easy one. It's an affordable one. But there is the METV visa, multiple entry travel visa or tourist visa. I would look into that. I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail about it here because it's almost become more insignificant of an option now that there's visa-free entry for 60 days. But I will have a link to information on that visa in my description. Now, there is another area it would be pretty easy to live in Thailand and utilize your 60-day visa-free entry and potential 30-day extension. Would be Bangkok area, and because you can get a really good flight from there to Phu Quoc, Phuquoc, Vietnam. It's an island off the southeast coast of Cambodia, and there you can get visa-free entry for 30 days. Can't do it in any other parts of Vietnam, just this one island. And I don't know how long that's going to last, but it's currently, last I checked, was still running. So I suggest Bangkok. I mean, it's a big city, not my kind of style, but from Bangkok, you got Bangkok Air, and you can fly a lot of places pretty cheap on Bangkok Air. So I checked into flights. I want to say it was like maybe a couple of $100, a little over $200 round trip. You go visit Phu Quoc, Vietnam. I hear it's a beautiful island. I have not been there yet. I will go there one day. But anyway, that'd be a good way. Go there for 30 days, then come back into Bangkok on your visa-free entry, and see how that works for you. Or, you might do that once. You can fly from Phuket to Phu Quoc too. So, you can have some options there. But when we look at this map, and like I say, I would definitely click on the link in the description and take a good look at this. It was a lot of work putting this together, but what a tool. I get quite a few hits on it. I think people are just randomly finding it from Google. But these are all the visa-free places you can go as an American citizen. And, many countries are similar to United States, like Canada and the UK. I mean, a lot of us are getting about very similar visa-free entries in about similar countries. So when I say the U.S. citizens, it involves a lot more people than U.S. citizens. But when you look at this map, I can't emphasize enough how comforting it sounds to me. Right? I mean, I wish I would have done this before I left the States. I may not have ever made it to Southeast Asia, because when you look at this, I mean, even in Central America, Southern South America, the Caribbean, and if you include Mexico, I'm not going to say hundreds, but dozens of spots that are visa-free and inexpensive that you could virtually, I mean, if you wanted to make Mexico a 6-month stop, then Panama, I think, is 6 months there as well, I think. And I mean, Panama and Costa Rica both have very much more flexible requirements for retirement visas than a lot of places. But like say in the Caribbean, Grenada is pretty inexpensive, and I think it's 90 days you have there. In northern South America, there's places. I mean, I've heard a ton about Colombia, and Colombia, from what I understand, is incredibly inexpensive. I kind of equate it, from what I'm learning about it, even with Vietnam. I mean, Vietnam is so inexpensive visa. I mean, they are working on a retirement type visa, but who knows what kind of financial requirements and et cetera that'll have when and if they ever come up with it. I've heard rumor that it's been, considering that for a long time. But yeah, Vietnam is, I would choose Vietnam over Thailand in a heartbeat. But by eliminating that visa need, Oh, Jesus, I can't imagine. I can't explain enough how big of a pain in the butt it is. I mean, I sit here right now, booked for Sri Lanka, um, and I did a big no-no. I did my own. I wrote my own rule. I mean, the only reason I did is because to get the ticket for my Onward ticket before I knew about OnwardTicket.com, I actually purchased a ticket for Sri Lanka because I knew that was the next place I want to go, and it was only $135. So I purchased it, not realizing it was not cancelable or changeable. So I got hung with that ticket. But now, after I booked the ticket, then I went in to schedule the visa, and I looked over some of the options, and I didn't do the visa. And then I went back in, and they had shut down their e-visa thing. So now I'm going crazy trying to get correct information on figuring out whether or not I'm going to be able to enter the country when I get there. There's supposed to be a 30-day visa-free option for Americans. But then there's something about a electronic travel authorization that you're supposed to get before you get there. I don't know. It's a mess. I mean, I know I want to go to the Philippines. There is a visa-free entry there. I want to see that for a bit. I want to go to Fuquoc. But I'm pretty sure after those two places, when I'm done with Sri Lanka, I can even stay there once I get there. I'm going to be going. But anyway, this is going to be my routine right here. To hell with visas. I'm telling you. So it's going to be about it. Like I say, well, I got to tell you a quick story. This is the second time I've done this video. The first time I did it, I realized that the top of my head was cut off from the camera. So, yeah, it was a mess. And this time, then my clip-on microphone gave out. Well, the thing broke when I was sticking the wireless adapter into my phone. It broke. So now I've got these microphones. I had a spare set, but I rarely used them because of the quality of the voice. Sucks. I'm sorry. And once again, whole new thing, a new video coming up on shopping while abroad. But anyway, once again, thanks for tuning in again. This is Expat Globetrotter. I'm Dave Wally. See you next time.